Hello, BookTube. Cheers, as only a Vermonter can bring you. Pabst Blue Ribbon glass with cold red table wine. Sophistication. So, on that note, good day today. Very good day. I went out and made a pretty big book haul. But I have a few other things I want to cover first. And New World's November. So my reading for the week that had to do with aliens. This was the first week of New World's November. A brand new, excuse me, a brand new BookTube event. So you can just do hashtag New World's November and you can see what's going on. I read a couple stories, and the first one, and after I do this, I've got some NaNoWriMo updates, very brief, and then we'll get to the books, the book haul. I read a couple stories, short stories, very busy week, which is normal this time of year. But the advantage of this read-along is that it requires you to read short stories, novellas, shorter works in the science fiction genre, which I love. And it worked with my schedule. There was no stress. Actually, it was a bit of a relief when I could sit down and read a short story. And I read a couple that I want to talk about. Now, the first one I read was in an anthology edited by Mike Resnick called I, Alien. I read it on my tablet. I have the anthology on my tablet. And sometimes the nice thing about that is I can just, maybe they'll give me a date here for when this was published, 2005. And I have a couple thousand books on my tablet. And even though the house is full of books, sometimes that's the most convenient way for me. I don't always prefer it. But there are times when the convenience is pretty hard to argue with. And I'm going to tell you the story. The story I read is The Life Hater by Fred Saberhagen. And it's a story in the Berserker universe. Saberhagen did this whole cycle of stories about the Berserkers. And I remember seeing them quite a bit when I was younger. It's like a relentless machines from far, 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 far away that hate life. They were programmed by their masters. That whole race is gone or no longer in the story anyway. And the machines are pre-programmed, so they just keep causing havoc. And then they run into Earth and Earth worlds. And this story in that cycle of stories is about a fella who's terminally ill, and it's a remote planet of humans and not at the center of things, and their only warship they had sent to help Earth against the Berserkers, and a battered Berserker shows up. This guy's dying anyway. He convinces his planet to let him go up and talk peace and love, and it does not. You know it won't work out with the Berserker because it's a single-minded machine. There's some play back and forth between the machine and the main character. It's the machine is totally alien. There's misunderstandings. It was an okay concept, just not really a great story. So a little disappointment there. I like Fred Saberhagen. I wouldn't class him among the great science fiction writers, but he did fantasy too. He did those Books of Swords, which I think may be a little better, but everybody has their own opinion. So first one, yeah, I'm glad I read it. It was nice to revisit all that again, but the second one was fantastic. So I found it in this Library of America new anthology here called The Future is Female. And this is cool. Some of the stories. So I picked one at random. I was sitting around and just grabbed it. And it's by Leslie F. Stone. And it's called The Conquest of Gola. And in the back here we have a little biography, she lived from 1905 to 1991. She was born in Philadelphia. She had worked in the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland. But some of the things, she's one of the first women to publish in the new science fiction specialist magazines, contributing over 20 stories from 1929 to 1940. Though Stone was a pseudonym and Leslie F. ambiguously gendered, she was an openly female author. Not only did Stone's portrait appear alongside her works, but editors were quick to correct readers who mistook her gender. And she was a powerhouse, and I knew to her. I may have seen her name. She, during the 60s and 70s, she visited her literary career a little bit. Wrote Out of the Void as a standalone novel, and is appearing as invited guest at science fiction conventions in Baltimore, offering reminiscences in 1974, later published as Day of the Pulps. Her work is featured in anthologies, including Gough Conklin's The Best Science Fiction from 1946, Asimov's Before the Golden Age, 1974, which Sean D. Standfast is reading, so I'd love to get his thoughts, and the Wesleyan Anthology of Science Fiction. So she was readily identified as a female author. Not all of these authors were, and the story was a hoot. I'm assuming, they don't say what the planet is, but it sounds to me like Venus, before we had the, what was it, in the early 60s, or whenever we had the flybys of Venus and we started realizing it was not a pleasant place. There was this idea, because astronomers saw clouds and mist, that maybe it was a water, jungly world. So a lot of older science fictions set nostalgically in this world, and those stories don't happen so much anymore because nobody would want to live there. I think that's where it is. It's on Venus. And the Gola are a matriarchal race to the extreme. And don't forget, this is a woman writer writing in 1931, I think. So put yourself into that. But you don't have to. The story is totally entertaining without too much of that. And the men from Earth come with their spaceships. And they want to, it's very American. They want to set up businesses and contracts. Or the spaceships will turn into warships. And it, like I say, I'm not going to give it away, because you can get this story. It may be even on Project Gutenberg for all I know, but it's in this anthology. Again, one to consider. This thing is science. Library of America has been doing a lot of anthologies lately. They have 4 volumes in their science fiction. They have tons of. Well, they just came out with Octavia Butler, a great science fiction writer, and her volume I got from my library. And of course, they have Ursula K. Le Guin. They're opening their eyes of this part of the world. So this would be, at least on that one story, and let me tell you, they got, obviously they have Ursula K. Le Guin, James Triptree Jr., she was wonderful, Joanna Russ, one of my favorites, they have C.L. Moore, Judith Merrill, where were we at here? Andrew North, which is Andre Norton. Many of you may have read her wonderful books. So, the Gola story was fantastic, a really good alien story, total miscommunication between species, and the ending is a hoot. So, good stuff here. So, the Saberhagen, I feel, I'm not mortified that I read it, but wasn't that great a story. NaNoWriMo. I started NaNoWriMo. I started a fantasy novel. Changed my mind 15 times in the 15 days leading up to it. I probably changed my mind 15 times in the 7 days leading up to it. Was back and forth with Steve Donahue of the channel of the same name. I think he was just disgusted listening to me. He just, very polite man, but he probably was tired of it. But the day came and I had to start typing. So last night I hit my goal. So I've done it for 5 days in a row, and I'm a little over 8,700 words. Tonight I need to hit just a little over total 10,000. So you try to do 50,000 words in November. I know there's some booktubers doing it. Some who I've talked to in the past, you know who you are, and love hearing from you on the NaNoWriMo portal for sure, or any other way. And then one or two newer, not new booktubers, but new to NaNoWriMo, and I've had short little conversations here and there with them. But great fun. So it's going well. I know it's a commitment. So and NaNoWriMo's in November, and November for most of us is a pretty busy month. So that's it on New Worlds November and NaNoWriMo. And now for the book haul. So I had to go get some stuff and ended up at Listen. Most of you know who watch the channel know what Listen is, but for those of you who are new, it's a charity shop. And I have to drive about 45 minutes to get to it. I live in a very, very, very small village and in Vermont, in the hills, and there's nothing like that around here. So I had to go up and was happy to. So because I made a pretty good book haul. So I'm going to break these up a little bit so I got some sort of logic to it. So the hardbacks are $1, paperbacks are 75 cents. Allows me to take a bit of a chance on something I don't know about. In this case, yeah. So the first thing I got here by Alan Rees and Brindley Rees is Celtic Heritage, Ancient Tradition in Ireland and Wales. It's a trade paperback, a little faded on the spine, but that's fine. Timms and Hudson, a press I love. The cover is a detail from the Book of Kells. In this widely acclaimed study, Allen and Brindley Rees reinterpreted Celtic tradition in light of advances made in the comparative study of religion, mythology, and anthropology. Part 1 considers the distinguishing features of the various cycles of tales and the personages who figure most prominently in them. Part 2 reveals the cosmological framework within which the action of the tales takes place. Part 3 consists of a discussion of the themes of certain classes of stories, which tell of conceptions and births, supernatural adventures, courtships, and marriages, violent deaths, and voyages to the other world, and an attempt is made to understand their religious function and to glimpse their transcending meaning. So I don't know how good it is. Timms and Hudson's a pretty respectable publisher. I'm sure I will learn a lot. So here, this is the structure of the Caligny calendar, whatever that is. So see, I'm going to learn some stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. Then the next one is a Norton volume. It's Gargantua and Pantagruel by Rebellious. It's going to be a little glare on this, sort of a shiny cover for another big old trade. See, it's Norton. Somebody had this probably in class. I did check. It does not have any underlining that I saw. No, it's fine. This is a translation by Burton Raffle. I have his translation of Beowulf, which is good, but I read it years ago. I have not read his translation of this, and I have not read his translation, was it Don Quixote? I believe so. I always want to say Don Quixote, but that's neither here nor there. So, biting in body, smart and smutty, lofty and low. Gargantua and Pantagruel is fantasy on the grandest scale, told with unquenchable thirst for all of human experience. Rebellious's vigorous examination of the life of his time, from bizarre battles to great drinking bouts, from satire on religion and education to matter-of-fact descriptions of bodily functions and desires, is one of the great comic masterpieces of literature. Parts of Gargantua and Pantagruel were banned upon their publication, and the whole of it has suffered in our century at the hands of translators too timid to say in modern English what Rebellious so frankly wrote about in Middle French. Okay. Master translator Burton Raffle unapologetically brings to life, in today's American idiom, all the gusto of Rebellious's language. So I'm looking forward to it. It's great. part of literary history. So there you go. Burton Raffle, I enjoyed this stuff. A couple more translations. These two are Penguin Black Spine labels. This is Euripides, the Bacchae, and other plays. So about Bacchus and all those. So let me see. I have this in other volumes. This is Philip Vellacott, the translator. So I'll have to see what translations I have. I have that big. Somebody flew by there, didn't they? I have the big. I only have 2 volumes. I think I have a Sophocles and a Euripides in the University of Chicago orangish color spines. They were all shaded slightly different. I'd like to finish that set. So anyway, but it's a different translator, I think. So let's see. His major themes: religious skepticism, the injustices suffered by women, and the destructive folly of war are issues still vitally important today. So as Ion, the Women of Troy, and Helen. So I'll see what translations I've had. I've read them all, probably in college, I think one, I don't think I read any of them in high school, but all that blends together after a while. This next one is Heinrich Gibbs, Hedda Gabler and Other Plays. Pretty good shape. 75 cents, I had to take a chance. So it has Hedda Gabler, and it has Pillars of the Community, The Wild Duck, and Hedda Gabler. Translated by Una Ellis Fermor. So the 3 plays in this volume cover the period during which Ibsen, 1828 to 1906, was preoccupied with the realistic problem of personal and social morality. In The Pillars of the Community, partly by means of symbolism, he exposes the effects of a lie told to preserve a man's public reputation. The solution, to admit the truth, scarcely seems so simple 7 years later when Ibsen completed The Wild Duck in apparent disillusionment. And then Hedda Gabler is the latest of these plays, is both a drama of individual conflict and a partial return to social themes. So give it a shot, you know. Then this volume's one I think I have most of that's nautical books in those boxes. And, I grabbed it because I couldn't not just make sure I still had a copy. And this is Alfred Lansing's Endurance, Shackleton's Incredible Voyage. It's a trade paperback, a little faded. I wasn't going to let it sit there on the off chance that I no longer had mine. I think I do, but we'll find out. So some of you have seen the film Shackleton with Kenneth Branagh. It's pretty good. This is a good account of Shackleton and the loss of the Endurance, trying to get back to civilization and dealing with the Arctic and all that. So, yeah. So, pretty happy to find that. And I'll go through my books. This next one I know I have. So now we're getting into some of the hardbacks, and then I'll have some more paperbacks. I have this book in a trade paperback, and I'll end up giving it to a friend of mine who I know will enjoy it. And I found a beautiful hardcover of this. And this is a really good book. This is Hemingway's Boat. It's the story of the Pilar. It's just really, really a nice book. This is from 2011. There is the boat. It's up on blocks, or it was in Cuba. Finca Viga, I think, is the name of Hemingway's villa there. So I don't know what they're doing with it, if they've put in a museum or what they've done. A very famous boat. Very wonderful, wonderful story. And glad to have it. So this will replace my paperback volume, my trade paperback volume, and I will pass it on to my buddy. So this next one, a bit of poetry. This is Ted Hughes, Birthday Letters. This is... I've read quite a bit of Ted Hughes, but this is sort of focused on the Sylvia Plath and her suicide and the years they were together. I have not read these, I don't think, anywhere. They might be in the collected volume. I don't know if I've read them though. I'd have to go through and check, and Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. This is Farrar, Straw, and Giroux, New York, and this is from 1998, but it's a fourth printing. It's fine. And we'll see. This is to replace a couple paperbacks. I read these years ago, but for $1 I couldn't pass it up. This is an omnibus volume with Mere Christianity and the Screwtape Letters complete in one volume. And this obviously is C.S. Lewis. I watched I think it was Ann Wilson. I get Acorn TV. I like some of the British stuff, and I think there's some Australian and Canadian stuff on it too. I think it was Ann Wilson did a little bio documentary, a little, sort of life documentary of C.S. Lewis, and I watched it like a week ago. Wilson's an odd little personality. He's an accomplished person, but he just struck me so funny. He kept taking my attention away from the story because I was watching him. But yeah, he meant well. It was a good documentary. I should be more fair. And then this next one here, I always have trouble with this guy's name, and I have another volume by him. And this is a British production, I'm sure. I can tell by the feel of it. This is Ranulph Fiennes, I think is how you say his name. And this is Cold. And I think he spent a lot of his life cold. I mean, he's a polar explorer. So here we have, let me just take this off here so you can see the end papers. I'm not always a big fan of some of the British books I get like this. Simon & Schuster, CBS Company, Cold, Extreme Adventures at the Lowest Temperatures on Earth. And the reason I'm not always thrilled with them is the paper. It drives me crazy. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not used to it. 2013. So this thing isn't very old, and the paper already starts to yellow a little bit. So a couple sections of photographs in here. This guy has done it. He's done the stuff. And I'm sure it's going to say, here's the thing with the Northwest. Let me get this out of the way. I like reading this kind of stuff. I think it would be a fair guess to say that Jason Harrigan's probably read this when it came out. So Jason, if you do watch, let me know what you think of it. But I couldn't pass it up for sure. This next one, Evan Thomas, is Sea of Thunder, Four Commanders, and the last great naval campaigns of 1941 to 1945. Sea of Thunder. It came out. He wrote the biography of John Paul Jones, one of Robert Kennedy. So this is Simon & Schuster, 2006. I don't think I've ever read this either. I love it when they have these. These help. I've been reading Samuel Eliot Morrison's naval operations of World War II, and the maps are wonderful. So we'll give this one a shot. Let's go towards the top of the pile of it. Then to end it. I mean, this is a long video for me. Actually, back in the day, I used to make longer videos, but I got an edition of a pile of George Simenon mysteries, Inspector Maigret mysteries, in editions I didn't know about, these little penguins. Got a pile of them, 75 cents a piece. I love the mysteries. I don't think I've read anywhere near all of them. I don't even know how many there are. It might tell me on here. So I picked them up. Like I say, yeah, they were $12 when they came out, but they're 75 cents now. Back of this has blurbs by Muriel Spark and P.D. James. Pretty good. I love the design. So here's the one, is the yellow dog. A man's head. Bar on the Seine. Yeah, a little glare there. Do they all have the same? The Hotel Majestic. I love these covers. I like the size of the books. These are meant to go in your backpack when you're tooling around. And The Friend of Madame Maigret. So this one has a blurb, Muriel Spark, V.S. Pritchett. Hotel Majestic has a blurb by Ernest Hemingway. The Bar on the Seine has Anita Bruckner. A Man's Head, P.D. James and John Mortimer of Rumpole fame. Why'd I wave my hand? Like I did it? No. And The Yellow Dog was P.D. James and Muriel Spark. So a really nice pile of these wonderful mysteries. I don't remember reading any of these. I have odd volumes. I think I have the one of The Wine Merchant, wasn't it? Few others. And I really, really like them. There's our dapper author. Always with a pipe. I saw pictures of his writing room. He had just like soldiers across with the pipes, I guess different ones for each day. Does it say how many he wrote? No, they just give a little blurb. You could look it up online, it wouldn't take much. So, yeah, I was thrilled to grab them. I found them right before I walked out. At first I didn't realize what I was looking at. So, let me make a Steve Donahue pile, and I am probably going to be sorry about that because there's a lot of books here. Let me see if I can do it. Try to do it by size a little bit, and then the chances of success improve. Let me see. The pile's getting pretty huge here. Let's see. And then you put the George cinnamon on top. Put the cinnamon on top. Let's see what we can do. There you are. Pretty good day, right? You know, didn't spend very much money, I can assure you. And again, New World's November. The Bookish Bryant's brainchild. I want to look for this Library of America volume. I've already read one story and love it, and I know a lot of the other authors, so I think this is going to be a really good one. I will report back. And then the Berserker, the Fred Saberhagen short story about the Berserkers. Yeah, not so much. And then NaNoWriMo. I got to get to 10,000 words tonight. So I hope everyone is well, and we will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.